Okay, before now, all we really saw lately was a little grainy footage from the Miami Heat arena when he was scrimmaging with Kevin Durant and maybe James Harden, Kelly Olynyk, and some other guys. And he sure looked chubby to me. And now we get a much clearer, higher resolution photo now that he finally dragged his ass back to Boston for the first time since Game 2 of the Eastern Conference Finals, when the Celtics went up 2-0 and looked like they were waltzing to the NBA Finals without Kyrie Irving, at which point he bounced. So what do we notice? I'll get to that hand in a minute. He's got a new tattoo on his hand that is troublesome. But he's got the longer hair, obviously, but he has gained about 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 pounds. Okay, you can see it in the neck. He's got the fat neck. He's got the chubbier cheeks. All right. No definition in his arm whatsoever. You can barely make out that that's his tricep. There's barely any vague separation. No striations in the shoulder. No veins, no vascularity whatsoever. Not even in his forearm. He's so chubby he doesn't even have any veins in his forearm. I can relate to that for the most part. And what do we know about his diet? We know he's no longer vegan. And we know that he loves Italian food now. He moved to New York City, and he was going to Little Italy and all over Manhattan, enjoying the finest Italian restaurants among many other ethnic foods. What do we know about Italian food? A lot of pasta. So this is a guy who wasn't able to exercise a lot this summer because he was injured, because he finally got the surgery that he should have got last summer when he decided to forsake his basketball responsibilities that he was paid $20 million for so that he could film a vanity project of a movie. We also noticed the bleached teeth, whatever. That's a movie star, Hollywood type thing. So he's gained about 10, 11, 12 pounds of spaghetti pasta carb muscle. He's got carb face, carb arms, carb body. And he's not vegan, so we know it's not just an illusion or a bad photo. This is a guy who, he's out of shape, period. Does he have a little bit of moves? Maybe, maybe not. Over here we see again the lack of vascularity in his forearm completely. And we also see this tattoo here. It's a Star of David with the Eye of Horus or whatever, that Illuminati, New World Order symbol, right? With the big Star of David in the circle. Now, Kyrie being the voice and the face of a generation and being promoted as such heavily by the powers that be, is now promoting heavily this whole occultism type thing. And he's saying, you should aspire to join the Illuminati like me, or whatever it is, whatever he's doing, right? Big Star of David. Kabbalah, I believe that's a Kabbalah symbol, the Star of David. It's not an ancient biblical Jewish symbol. It's a Kabbalah, Jewish mysticism, Masonic Jewish symbol, okay? And you look at Israel and you look at the Supreme Court there and the Knesset, the Parliament building, it's all Illuminati Masonic imagery. And in Hollywood, it's called Kabbalah, you know, and watch the movie Eyes Wide Shut and do a little research on the short story that the Stanley Kubrick movie Eyes Wide Shut is based on. And it's based on a guy who was wrapped up in this in the early 1800s in Vienna, Austria. The same little group that gave us Sigmund Freud and a couple other guys. They were all part of the same Masonic, mystical, Illuminati type organization. And Sigmund Freud's ideas, as flawed as they were, promoted a certain interest and agenda. And so now we have a Kyrie Irving promoting some of these same things and it couldn't be a more high profile place on his body to have that tattoo. His right hand, his shooting hand, with a huge Star of David and the all-seeing Eye of Horus, to promote to the kids that this is something you want to aspire to, or this is cool, and all of that stuff, some dark stuff. And so now that Kyrie is in with these people, perhaps through his church, which is probably a front for and a filter and a entry point for some of these higher Masonic organizations. That church we know is based in New York City, and they also have an outpost in Hollywood, California. And whereas Jimmy Butler said he wants to go to team up with Kyrie, a place that has 2 max contract slots, both New York teams and the LA Clippers. So, this is a guy who reports to a higher calling, okay? He reports to a higher calling in a way. And these people are going to open all kinds of doors in New York City that can't be opened in Boston. And Kyrie Irving is more than willing to join them, promote them, embrace them, benefit from them, all of that stuff. So anyway, that's the Kyrie Irving transformation. He's gained about 10, 15 pounds. Maybe a couple pounds are muscle. There's probably a little bit more muscle there because remember last year he was on a strict vegan diet before training camp, and he came in about as light and as nimble as he ever had been since his rookie year, perhaps. And he got chubby in Cleveland, and then he went vegan and got slim, and now he's back to basically chubby. We will see how much of this he works off. He was injured for most of the summer, but we just don't know. And it's entirely possible that Kyrie Irving is athletically over the hill at this point. And recall that that knee, the screws taken out of his knee, they were not supposed to be taken out of his knee. They were taken out prematurely because he had the infection there. And we will see if that knee even stays together. We really don't know that. We're just saying that and hoping that. But now he's got about 10, 12, 15 pounds of additional weight on his body, on his knees. In addition to his herky-jerky style, it's gonna take that much more effort and put that much more force on his knees to play the herky-jerky style that he needs to create separation to get his shot off or to get to the rim. Defense is going to be harder for him. His wind is going to be down. He's going to have to take plays off defensively. Not that he already has any problem taking plays off defensively, right? So we will see what kind of shape he gets into, but just know, go back and look at his, it almost looks like he has gray hairs coming in. Maybe it's just the light. But look back at his childhood photos. And he was a chubby kid, okay? He was an overweight kid. And he has that in his genes. And some of that blew up a little bit in Cleveland. And it's blowing up a little bit now. But just picture this guy after he signed some $200 million contract, guys. He's got his 5 years all locked up, just like he took his last contract for granted. And he said, yeah, even though I'm paid $20 million, I'm still not going to get the surgery I need in the offseason so that I can do my job in the regular season. I'm going to instead take that money for granted, and I'm going to film a movie, a vanity project for myself, and then I'll get surgery during the season. And I'll still get paid for it, and nothing matters. Now, what do you think a guy with that attitude, and who demands trades as well, and threatens to sit out season and get surgery if they don't trade him, what do you think a guy like that is going to do once he signs a 5-year contract? Do you think he's going to double down on his commitment to his team and his responsibilities to his team? What happened with J.R. Smith? He was doing great on these 1-year contracts. As soon as they gave him a big 4-year contract, he immediately lost his peak motivation. And he's let the Cavs down ever since. All right, so do you really want to be paying a 30-year-old Kyrie Irving $40 million, knowing he's got 2 full years left on his contract, and he wants to film Uncle Drew 3, right? But he needs surgery on something or other, but he doesn't want to do it in the regular season. And so he's going to film Uncle Drew 3 instead of getting surgery, and then the Celtics season starts. And what do you know? Kyrie is going in for surgery because he couldn't last past February or March with the injury that he should have got before. Is this a guy you really want to invest your whole future in? Wasting the primes, the early primes of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and all these other guys, while Kyrie gets heavier and heavier and slower and less motivated and more selfish as he gets older and older. He's already said his career is probably going to end early. He's already plays like an old man. He's played like an old man forever. He couldn't even play more than 5-6 games in college. He's missed 20% of the games in his whole career, and he hasn't even started to slow down yet. But I think he's at that point. Recall Avery Bradley, guys. When was Avery Bradley's real athletic peak? He ultimately started slowing down athletically with the same type of build as Kyrie Irving, this relatively thin-armed, thin-boned build, although Kyrie Irving carrying a lot more fat than Avery Bradley ever did. But he passed his athletic peak after the age of like 24 or 25. And when he was 26, 27, he was getting schooled in practice by guys like Terry Rozier, and he was getting schooled in games by the fastest point guards. So not only was he too small to guard the full-size shooting guards, let alone small forwards or power forwards, he was completely helpless to doing that. But Avery Bradley was also getting smoked by the quicker point guards because he had lost his athletic edge. And nobody really noticed it because he had a reputation for athleticism, but he was getting schooled over and over again because he lost the foot speed. Look up all the advanced stats for the last 3 years or so. Avery Bradley, his defense, it's nothing but a myth. And what's the career span, the career arc of NFL cornerbacks? When do they peak, guys? They peak in their early mid-20s, and then they, 26, 27 years old is when they start to dip athletically. So unless you're Chris Paul and you're stocky as hell and your IQ is high as hell and you're work like crazy on the defensive end, if you don't have those things going for you and you're not even really invested in defense, you fall off real quick on the defensive end. And that's the future of Kyrie Irving, a guy who's never actually, in the advanced stats, been a real legit top 20 player because of those defensive shortcomings. And once his defense starts to slide off, it might even start sliding off this year. But certainly the year after that, when he's 27, turning 28, and turning 29, and turning 30, anything, he could play, he could average 30 points a game, and he would still not even be a top 20 player because of that defense. This isn't a guy like James Harden, who's big, strong, with a long wingspan, who's really athletic too, who can step up when needed to be an average defender, to make sure that his 29 points a game are not empty stats. This is not that. Anyway, guys, a little Kyrie Irving body transformation video as we enter training camp. He's going to be working himself into shape, much like Paul Pierce used to do for the Celtics before Kevin Garnett straightened him out, slapped him around a little bit, demanded better from Paul Pierce. Kyrie Irving showing up chubby. And let me know what you think. I'll see you soon. Peace.